Hello, this is Josh with Infinite Tactics. Today we're going over the basics of using the Analytics Gateway. I'll be using our public instance, which provides Google authentication and DoD Common Access Card login options. I'm going to go ahead and log in with Google, but when the first time you log in, you'll have to register your account, and then typically a team administrator will have to authorize you. So after logging in, I'm taken to the dashboard, which shows all the jobs that I have running in the system. Here you can see one, and here in the top right, the credit I have remaining. Jobs are a request for a certain number of resources and time on the system, and typically accompanying apps. So in this case, I have one job running. It's given a unique ID of 1266. It's running. I asked for an hour, which is the wall time. It's been running for 3 minutes, and you can see it's running on one node, or you can think of this as servers, and one application, Jupyter. So if I click on Jupyter, it'll securely take me to the user interface for that application. In this case, I don't have any existing notebooks, but it provides me the default Jupyter instance. Now, one thing to note is that if you save data on the system, it'll be saved in your home drive. And so if I created data using Jupyter and saved it to my home drive, I could end the job, this delete button here, and it would still be available for further jobs later on, or I can download it, share it, whatever I want to do with that data. Another thing to note is that credits can be accessed here, and it shows that over the lifetime of my account, I've been given 500 credits. I've used 8, which means that 492 are still available. So if I click on this link for used, it'll show me a history of my credit usage in reverse order. So here at the very bottom, you can see that I was given 500 credits when I created my account. I was charged for disk quota. And then I started running several jobs, the latest of which was the job I just showed you, 1266, for Jupyter 5 minutes ago, and it cost 5 credits. Now, if we go here to the top navigation bar, My Jobs will take you back to the dashboard, and we can see that my job is still running. One other thing to point out is that if you click on the node IP, it'll take you to a web terminal. So for advanced users, you can manipulate data, see what's going on the instance. For example, I could type the top command to see what's using my RAM, what's using the CPU, how things are working, that kind of thing, or I can do other advanced commands. So let's say that I'm done with my node, I'm done with my job, and I want to stop it. I would click the delete button here. It'll ask me if I'm sure because this is a permanent action. I click accept. It gives me a notification that it was deleted, and it deletes itself from the dashboard. Now if we go back to credits and go to the history, you'll see that I was returned a prorated amount for the credit I didn't use. So I asked for an hour, which was going to cost 5 credits, but I stopped it fairly early, so I got 4 back. Now in most cases, you can think of credits as roughly analogous to a penny, but that depends on your instance. To also get to the credit history, you can click under your username and click this link, or the credit link to get back to the other user interface. Now, in most instances, it'll have information on how to acquire more credit. Because I'm on the public instance, I can actually purchase some through Stripe, but in many cases, you'll have to talk to a team administrator to allocate you credit. Now, if we go back to the dashboard, I can see that there are some other options here at the top navigation bar. The key thing to note is that if you want to start a new job, it's just this link right here, which takes you to a list of our plugins. Your instance may have more, it may have different plugins, but this is a fairly standard list. So let's say that I was using the default Jupyter, I actually want to use PyTorch. I could click Run with Defaults, which would provide me an hour with a single CPU node, or I can click Options. This is how you change the defaults and also access advanced features. So let's say I want to rename the job. By default, this is just the plugin name, so this would be Jupyter plus PyTorch. But let's say I want to call this Model. Let's say that I'm going to use this up until about 4 hours from now, so I'll click 4 hours. I could also click minutes if I wanted to. And here is where I choose the node type. By default, the CPU node on our AWS instances has 2 CPUs, no GPUs, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and all of that costs about 5 credits per hour. So again, thinking of this as cents, that's about 5 cents an hour, roughly. But because I'm using it for 4 hours, it actually totals to 20 credits, and that's shown down here in the Run button. Now, if I want to choose a bigger node or a node with a GPU, for example, I can click these easy set defaults, or I can click on the actual node type that I want. Now, this is a major place that your instance will likely differ from this one. If you're running on a local HPC, this may be different, and if you're running on a different cloud, this may be different. But I'm running on AWS, so these are all AWS types. Let's choose a node that has a GPU, and I'm going to choose the P3 2x large. As you can see here, this information has changed to update and to show you what that provides, which is 8 CPUs, 1 GPU, 64 gigs of RAM, and that costs 306 credits per hour. As you can see on the button, I can't actually click it because that is too many credits and I don't have enough to run this job. But if I lower this to say an hour, it suddenly changes to 306 credits and I can run it. Whenever you run a job, you'll get a short notice that it was submitted, and then it may take a second to show up in the dashboard, but it already has, so I'll close this. And now we're back to where we started. It shows you all the jobs you have in the system, their status, how much time you asked, and what they're running. Note that if the status says queued, that means that the service is still requesting that node or it's still being started. So in this case, because we're running in the cloud, it's allocating that node, starting it up, and starting the application. Once it enters the run state, these two links will become active, and I'll be able to click on them to enter the UI. Once I'm done, like I did before, I can click the delete button or simply let it run out to the wall time. You can also see that my credits remaining has updated, and I can again get more credit by asking my team administrator or on public purchasing more. One other thing to note is that your disk space can be changed here under your username. Go to disk quota. You can see that I currently have 1 GB allocated, and I've only used 209 kilobytes. I can change this by entering human readable units. So for example, if I want 2 GB, I can hit 2. It'll tell me how many I need, so I can set that, and it is now updated. That concludes our lesson. Thank you for joining.